All right, it is Sunday. We're going to keep this short. We're going to keep it sweet for a little short, sweet Sunday TA reminder. Technical analysis, TA. I'm not talking... Technical analysis. Taking a look here. What you should focus on, what you should look at, and all that fun stuff. Well, I mean, there's a lot to it, but let's talk about a very simple premise. This is a premise that I think any trader in the entire world can benefit from if they aren't already using this very simple premise. I don't even know what premise means, to be honest. That just seems like a cool word to use. All right. What do we got? We got support. We got resistance. That's a very clear idea. It doesn't matter what concept you trade. It doesn't matter how you trade. It's just the end-all, be-all, right? It works. It's a thing. If we have support, if we have resistance on the chart, a very important thing to remember here is if you are trading and support, previous support turns into resistance, what does that mean? Well, it means that it's very bearish, right? So we had this overnight low there on Friday. It was support, 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 support. We break to the downside, right? We got below it. We pushed it back up. We then turned it into what? We turned that previous support into resistance. So as we understand that, as we believe that, what does that mean? Well, it means that if we're, let's say, I don't know, let's say we're trying to get long here. Let's say for some reason we're like, okay, I'm going to get long in this area here. Well, if we can't get above that previous support that is now acting as resistance, if we can't get above it, what does that mean? Well, it means that it's probably a good chance that the market pulls back, whatever you want to say. But I do think there's a very important lesson here. Maybe even I wasn't too focused on it on Friday there. But the fact that the market pulls back, it breaks below the support, starts to build out a bear flag, pulls back, it then pushes back up, gets stuck below the support once again. That selling pressure is coming in, right? The sellers are holding below this line here. The market then starts to drift lower after that. And kind of the same thing as we move lower. And again, you know, just a little bit of previous resistance turning into support, previous resistance. Previous like support right here, previous support turning into resistance, and it's a very real thing, right? It's very real. So as I see that on the chart, I'm like, oh, you know, if we can't get above the previous support that is now acting as resistance, that's obviously bearish, right? It's bearish. It's not a good thing. It's not good for the bulls. I don't want to be getting long. I don't want to be getting long into that previous support that is now acting as resistance. Market was just kind of really choppy and not beautiful that past week. Here's a little example, kind of the same idea. We had the overnight support, right? We held that overnight support, so obviously that's bullish. You know, if we're below the overnight support, we're looking for that move down. If we're kind of holding that support, well, then we're looking for that move up here. Now, we see that we have previous resistance right here at the 800s, previous resistance from that earlier move in the morning. Well, what happens? Well, guess what? We start to stay above that previous resistance there, and then the market starts to push back up. So I think a lot of people kind of forget about the idea of like, wow, you know, that previous resistance, if it turns into support, if it turns into resistance, whatever, support, resistance. When we get those very key flips, when support is turning into resistance, when resistance is turning into support, that's something is happening, right? The market is telling us something. Something is happening, Patrick. Hey, I don't know what it means exactly, but something is clearly happening here. Same thing, you know, even like here, when we have some previous support there, when that support no longer holds and we start to sell down, well, then that's like, oh, let's kind of think about it like a line in the sand. The bears, the bulls, the bears. Once we start to lose that, it's not good. It's kind of like I wouldn't say equilibrium, but kind of just the overall idea here. This would have been like the overnight high. We break above the overnight high. We then just kind of stay above that all day. the bulls are in control. So when there's a key level of support, when there's a key level of resistance, I'm trying to figure out, like, are we above it? Are we below it? Are we pushing back up to it? Are we bouncing off of it? What is going on? The support turning into resistance is obviously not a good sign. Here, this is the 5-minute chart, by the way. We had this previous, I'd say, like the overnight kind of pullback there, that support, right? We're bouncing off it. We're bouncing off it. By 10:45, we are now turning that previous support into resistance, building out a bear flag, and the market sell, moving down there after that. So I think this video sometimes is like important just for myself, right? To go back to the basics and remember, be like, hey, you know, really identify what is going on. Are we kind of turning that previous support here from the overnight? You know, we bounced there multiple times. Even the previous day, you know, we were bouncing off that 880 level. So the fact that we then turn that 880 area into resistance is a very bearish sign, and it's not a good thing to be kind of long into that previous resistance. I don't know. Maybe it's just a little bit too simple of an idea here to really make a whole video about, but you can see, you know, very clearly when that resistance is turning into support, vice versa, things like that. When we're getting those flips, that's kind of that key idea. All right, so here we can see, okay, we got that 240 area, which was a little bit of resistance from the day before there. So Tuesday we sell off again. You know, we're breaking through support. We're breaking through that support. We move down. We now have this kind of previous area of support here, previous area of support. So like bang across there almost, turning into what? Turning into the resistance, the Great Wall of China. Great Wall of China. Resistance turning into, well, previous support turning into resistance is now, I keep kind of mixing up. I hope you guys understand this because I don't know how to speak English very well right now. Again, it's Sunday. We're just getting it short and sweet. I thought it'd be kind of a little quick reminder. This might be a total waste of your time. You might be sitting here going, Patrick, I already know everything about this support resistance. I would never do that. Well, anybody out there who's not thinking about it, well, maybe you got an idea. Because again, if you look here on this chart, guess what? Look, that previous resistance from Tuesday on the following Wednesday, right? We break above that previous resistance, which would have been like right here. This is that previous resistance. I don't know if times I can draw some lines, but this line right here, we kind of break above it, we trap, we pull back, and then we start to turn it into support, and then we get that move up from the 246s up there to the 441s. So something to be aware of. Again, I don't know. It could just be too basic for everybody to even care, but I think it's very important to remind yourself when you're looking at the chart, you're like, oh shit, man, you know, especially on Friday. We can't get back above this previous area that was support pre-market. Well, that's not a very good sign for the bulls. If the bulls can't get it back above that 880s and start to move it up, well, then guess what? There's probably a better chance that we move down, right? A better chance we move down. Obviously, the market can go up, the market can go down, but we want to identify, like, what was a key level, a previous key level that the market was interacting with in terms of like bouncing or just kind of consolidating at, things like that. If we see those key levels, that overnight low turning into resistance, well, then we better be looking for some sells. Better be looking for that resistance to hold there and kind of be basing our trades off of that. You know, we're looking at like, okay, if we can't break through this, well, there's no reason to be longy-dongy, right? No reason to be long. Kind of looking at those bear flags there for that move back down off of that resistance. Kind of thinking as that, like, that's also a kind of a gray area to be kind of risking as well, with the idea of like, hey, you know, we got this previous resistance, right? Well, we got this previous support that turned into resistance. Sorry, God, I'm all confused right now. I haven't had enough C4 to get my mind really going, and it's still early here on Sunday. But either way, hopefully this gives you guys some kind of idea. Maybe you guys can just go back and look at your own charts and think about it as well. When that previous support turned into resistance there on Friday, should have been a pretty clear level for the bulls, the bears to kind of be like, hey, it's not looking too bullish. The bears are holding it below that previous area of support. Well, maybe I want to be looking for them shortsies. Talking about them real, them shorts. There it is. We're getting ready. We're back for another week of action. No mentorship right now. So it's just going to be me trading with all my friends live on YouTube. So make sure you tune in live every morning, 9 a.m. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe button. You know what to do. I'll talk to y'all later on. Peace of the Middle East.